Good afternoon, comic fiends. How's it going, everybody? It's Sunday. I'm here this week with Donald Rex is joining us. Rasa is away this weekend, so hopefully we can. Although next weekend is Father's Day here, so I don't know if I'll be around next weekend. But either way, Donald is joining us today. How you doing, Donald?
Hi, good. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, man. Pretty good. We were talking just before we went on there. You were talking Mastodon and we were talking Twitter, and you were talking about a hashtag that's going on. Do you want to just kind of let's discuss that a bit? I'm curious if there was any stories that jumped out at you.
Well, there's a hashtag called Comics Broke Me or something like that on Twitter. And I don't know, there's nothing really jumped out at me in particular, but just a lot of pros are, since last night and into today, I've been posting, about, their disappointments with publishers and rates and that, and how, they can't afford to go to the doctor and they can't afford dental care and this and that. And, they love doing comics, but it doesn't really support them.
Yeah.
I mean, they get, one guy was saying he did a 200-page graphic novel and got $40 a page advance, and for the artist, and $10 a page for the writer, and it takes months to do something like that. And how can you survive on that? You have to have a regular job just to be a comic artist, and that's a full-time job. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then you think of like the guys who work for Image and things like that, where they're basically, from what I understand, is you're sort of working on spec for a little while. Like you're working for no money, however many months that takes, and then you put it out, and then you start seeing return, right? So that's the challenging. I mean, as much as there's bonuses with that, that's absolutely a challenge where, yeah, you need some other job on the side to kind of supplement that, right? I guess that's why a lot of them get into illustration gigs and things like that, to put things aside, do an illustration gig, rake in a bit of money, and then go back to their low-paying job there.
Yeah. I guess some of the cover artists, have it made, like, Nakayama and Lau and some of these people, Peach Momoko, they can knock out those covers, and, people eat them up. They must be getting pretty good rates.
I mean, I imagine someone like Peach is doing phenomenally well. It feels like every series that comes out, there's a Peach Momoko variant, hey? So she's really just firing it. Hello, Miss So. Hello, Damien. How's it going?
Hello.
I wonder what the pay rate is for the cover artist. Obviously, it will depend on who you are and the title, I assume. But
right.
I'm curious what that range is.
I think, I've heard it's pretty high.
Yeah. Wild. Yeah, I'll have to check out that hashtag.
Comics broke me. Hashtag comics broke me. And
okay.
There's a lot of people, kind of pouring their heart into it.
Right. Yeah, that would be interesting to see. I don't visit Twitter as much as I used to. I was scrolling through last night a bit, but I'm not there as much as I used to be.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to... Sorry, say that again?
I just lurk once in a while. I never post anymore.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of the best way to go, I think. A lot on original art sales. Yeah, I'm guessing. But I mean, I think, does that fall into the same area, though? Like when Peach does a variant cover for one of the Marvel books, I'm assuming does she keep that art? Does that art, does it go the same way as all the other art for the interiors of the books?
I'm sure.
Does she actually own that if she's doing it for them?
I'm sure.
Things I don't know. One of the things to kind of quickly talk about off the top here, to give a little promo, our friend Colin Blanchette, Loading the Cannon, has his first issue of Canon has come out. So if you follow him on Twitter, speaking of Twitter and social media, if you follow him there or follow him here on YouTube, on his, is it Comic Book Manifesto now is the channel, I think, right? You can get you can pick up a copy of this. I know he still has some left. I think help him sell out.
He's gone back to Loading the Cannon now.
He has. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to Loading the Cannon. Okay. That makes sense. It's a fantastic, I just finished reading it last night. There's some really good stuff in it. It really, I don't know. I think I think he's done an incredible job on this. I think it's really amazing that he talked about it. Hello, AFPC. He talked about it and kind of put it together with a bunch of people. He's reverted to loading the cannon. Yes. So it's a beautiful thing. I'm really glad that he kind of went through with this. I'm hoping this week sometime, Colin and I are hoping to do a live stream, or the plan is to do a live stream at some point this week, so I can kind of dig into it a little bit more and ask him some questions about it and what the plans are and stuff from it after the fact. So I'm looking forward to getting together with him to chat about that. So if you don't know him, which I'm assuming everybody here does, but those watching in the future and those maybe dipping in a little bit, give him a shout, give him a look see.
Hope I can catch that. I never seem to get notifications. I don't know why, but yeah, that sounds like a great show. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I'll try to post it early. I think, it's the usual. This is where I feel like a YouTuber. If you click the bell, I do it to a couple of people that I follow just to make sure that I get the alerts. You can click it and it'll give like an all notifications all. So then anytime anything is posted to that particular channel, it comes through. I haven't had an issue with it not coming through. So I find it's good just for those few channels that I really want to kind of keep up with and make sure I don't miss something. I've done that. So that might be something that helps you.
Cool.
Yes, thank you very much, AFPC. It was fun to contribute as well. That's the other thing. And just so happens that when it naturally opens up, you open up into the reviews that I did there. So it was kind of great to see that stuff. I've never done anything like that in the past. I've never really had any desire to do this sort of thing. But it was super fun to kind of contribute. I couldn't say no when he asked me, so it was great.
It's cool how you went full Alex Toth with the handwritten reviews there.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it again for the next one. It felt appropriate for that piece there. Hey, like it was difficult to do laying out, as you can see by the layout on the page. I didn't lay it out properly when I hand did it and everything, but like cutting out and photocopying and putting things in place was a fun little experiment. I don't know if I'd want to do that kind of thing for a living. I'm sure you'd get better at it, but it was a challenge. It took me quite a while, a lot longer than I thought it was going to take actually to kind of get that thing sorted. So next time I'll do it again. I'm going to start. I've made some notes already, so I'm going to start writing stuff out soon so I can kind of get a jump on it.
You know what I used to do in my fanzines? I would type out the article, like double space it, and then I would go over and write in by hand, mostly because my ribbon was usually, it would come out light, but I would go over so it looks like it was handwritten. I don't know. You probably don't have a typewriter, but
no, I don't have. I used to, but I don't actually have a typewriter anymore. I had one for way longer than I ever should have, actually. Yeah. That's interesting. So it was something that, one of the things that I noticed, I guess we'll talk about this a little bit. I don't want to go into kind of what the articles are and stuff, but just in a general, one of the things that was super impressive to me was that this, I felt, really fit into the world of that fanzine where Colin references like Strangers and Bubbles, which are fantastic, but I look at those as they're a little more professional, quote unquote, only because of who they're associated with. Colin's canon, I really feel, fits into that fanzine world incredibly well, because there's a lot of us there that were very much, I'll speak for myself. I'm very much an amateur when it comes to those kind of things. And I feel like the spirit of those older fanzines was people that were just fans that were then just writing articles, doing art, whatever it was, into these. And I feel like this canon falls into that pretty squarely. I know you don't have your copy yet there, Donald, but when you do, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So you did some fanzines. What were the fanzines that you did?
Oh, well, I was in Kappa Alpha. You know what that was?
I don't actually know.
It was an APA, Amateur Press Alliance, where when I was in it, there were like 80 people in it. And you would do a fanzine every month and produce it and then mail it to the central mailer. And then he'd collate them all together and mail them out to the members. And Those were fun days. That was back in the 70s, and I would just make photocopied zines about nothing really. It's just funny little things that I do. I've made zines for we had this group called Rock Inc. in the 80s. They were trying to censor rock bands here in San Antonio. They were trying to put a noise ordinance so that they couldn't have rock concerts, and so a bunch of us went to City Hall to point out that they didn't really have any right to do that. And a bunch of us got together and formed this group. And for years afterwards, we registered people to vote at rock concerts. It was fun.
That's amazing.
When I was young and active. And so I did a little fanzine for them.
So if I understand you correctly, there was kind of like a central hub, and then everybody that was associated with it would send their fanzines, like the completed copies, to that central hub, and then it would get distributed. That's very cool.
Yeah. I think
so your own little fanzine distro.
I don't know whether their still app is operating anymore, but that was big in the 60s and 70s, probably into the 80s. But
that's amazing.
Yeah, I used to have tons of them. Finally I got rid of them, but they were just, people just had such diverse points of view, and everybody collected different things and talked about different things. It was just like when the mailing would come, it was like, all right, I can't wait to dig into it.
Right. Yeah, that is an incredible thing, right? Like you never really know what you're going to get, and there's going to be someone that has their little niche, and especially at that time, right? Like you're getting these missives. That's the only time you're communicating with this outside world to that level anyway, right? So that's pretty amazing.
It was crazy. You have to send in like, I don't know what it was, $3 for 3 months or something to cover the postage. And
right.
And you had what they called MINAC. You had to contribute every couple of months or something, and minimum activity to stay in the group. It was it was fun. It was good times.
Yeah, absolutely. Get some subversive material in the mail. That's always a good thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Damien is saying people used to say comics YouTube was the new fanzines. Made sense to me. Lately it might have morphed beyond fanzines. Yeah, I would agree with that. There was, when I first started, there was a real, that energy was there, that mixed with message boards and that sort of thing. But yeah, I could absolutely see that.
Yeah.
But it definitely morphed into kind of, that idea of a group of people talking about a variety of things feels like that's gone a little bit by the wayside. It's not as much. It's pretty much there's a central group and they're all talking about the same things, so that side of it. And then Rick Ray, hello, Rick Ray. Still waiting for my copy of Canon #1 to arrive, but can't wait to read your article. Thank you very much. The whole thing is great. The whole magazine is great. He's done a fantastic job. Like I said, I hope he continues it. I hope he continues it for as long as he can possibly do it. So let's get that sucker sold out.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Yeah.
So, Donald, what did you have? Did you have anything this week you wanted to share with us? Why don't we jump into some comics here?
Well, the most fun thing I read this week, it's not new, and I think I've heard maybe you or Colin talk about this guy, Ryan Heska. Are you familiar with him?
I sure am. He's an ex-Winnipegger, actually. He used to live here.
Oh, really? Well, I read this book, Mean Girls Club, and it was really fun. It's done in this black and pink coloring. It's takes place, I would guess in the 50s or 60s or something in a small town. And the mean girls are mean. I mean, they're mean to everybody. They're mean to everybody, to each other. They're just mean girls. But they've got a right to be, when you read their origins and stuff, they've had a hard time. And there's this boss hog type character who runs the town with the local reverend and the chief of police, who are, typical comical characters. And it's a really enjoyable book.
Is it a no brow? Yeah, it is a no brow. I see it there. Yeah, that's fantastic.
It came out in 2018,
Mhm.
printed in Poland, but it was inexpensive. It was only $20 US, 20.95 US, 25.50 Canadian,
Huh.
and yeah, it was a fun book.
That's a good score. I don't know if that's very easy to find anymore. That's really nice. Really, really nice.
Well, my comic shop's got it, so I suspect that some of the distributors still have it. You might ask at your comic shop; might
Mm.
still be available.
Yeah, yeah. I'll check it out for sure. Just quickly as an aside to that, Rick Ray mentioned it as well too, but the newest issue of Blab has some Ryan Heshka in it as well. So there's some he did some painting
All right,
inside the front and back cover. Here, I'll make myself bigger here. I haven't read this whole thing yet. I've just kind of flipped through it,
very cool.
and it's got some pieces. It's got a piece in the back cover as well here, which is pretty beautiful.
Yeah,
And then he does some strips here too. I think they might be collected from somewhere else. There's originally appeared in Masterful Marks, Cartoonist Who Changed the World from 2014. He's doing a piece on Siegel and Schuster, or doing the art for it anyway.
wow,
But there you can see
that's
his
pretty
art
cool.
there. It's beautiful stuff. He's a really fantastic artist. Yeah, so he appears a few times in the newest issue of Blab here, which I didn't realize was going to be kind of this size. It's great. I'm not complaining about it by any stretch. I just didn't realize it was going to be kind of this bigger graphic novel size. And
When did
then
that
just
come
the
out?
last, like a month ago, possibly. It's relatively new. And
I
then
haven't
the
seen a
last thing,
Blab in years. Oh,
yeah, no, they're just starting it again. They're just going to start it. We'll see how it goes. It looks okay. I watched Colin did a video on it, and he had a couple of reservations about a couple of things, which I would agree on. But we'll see when I actually read it. He was talking about just what they chose to reprint for some of this stuff.
yeah,
Here we go.
reservations are par for the course with Blab.
Yeah. And then in this is from the Marvel series. There, they did a treasury sized. You can see him doing this Black Widow
Ooh,
here as well, which was one of the highlights from this Marvel series for me. And the
wow.
fact that you get Heshka in this treasury edition kind of size is beautiful as well too. So
Wow.
that's worth keeping an eye out for. There's a lot of great artists in this.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I just skimmed right past it.
Oh, you have seen it, yeah. Yeah, it's well worth taking a look at. There's some beautiful stuff in there.
Hmm.
What else do you have for us? Was that all from? This is from one of your local shops, I'm assuming, yeah, that you go to regularly.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I got, well, I was really excited about, I got an eBay score, was I got Darwin Cook's Spirit issues 1 through 12 and the Batman Spirit for like less than cover price, including shipping. I was like really thrilled. I've been looking for these spirits for a long time. Some of them I've read already and put away, but let's see. Here's one, number 6. This series came out in 2007,
Mm-hmm.
and the only thing I don't like about it is it's on this really slick paper.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was reading when I came out, and I love Darwin Cook's art. His stories they're good, but I'm not I'm not that great. I'm more of I'm more like look at the pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
That was a good run, though. He did phenomenal work in there.
yeah, a lot of good artists worked on that series.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find some interesting page to show up.
Yeah, I think Aragones took over afterwards, right? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. He did. I don't know. There's the splash.
Yeah, nice.
But so I
What
got
a
a lot of
style, man.
issues of that. Here's number 4. That's a splash. But yeah, Darwin had a sense of humor and a style all his own. There's a lot of people that emulate him, I think. But he would go into cartoony to realistic. He was I don't know. He was just one of a kind. I was he's always been my favorite, and I went to San Francisco just to see him at WonderCon in 2008, and and I did get to meet him, and I made a couple of videos of one of his presentations. They're up on YouTube, but he was just a really nice guy, and I was expecting him to be a young guy. For some reason, I just thought, oh, he must be a young guy. I hadn't seen him before, and he was like, he was he was younger than me, but he was a mature adult. And I said, I caught him coming out of the panel thing, and I said, are you going to be signing somewhere? And he said, oh, I'll sign for you now. What do you got? And so I had him sign a couple of books, and we chatted a little bit. He was really, really personable, really a cool guy.
Yeah, he seems to have been, for sure. I love every once in a while his wife pokes up on social media, usually to bitch slap someone who's talking nonsense about her husband, and it's phenomenal every single time. Yeah, he seems like a hell of a guy. I love his art. That spirit is great. I mean, he really was an interesting character, and just steeped in that world of like the Bruce Timm and the animated world. And really they developed this total house style that is just gorgeous to look at in this real nice illustrative style.
I got a story about Bruce Timm.
Yeah.
He was a guest at one of our shows when late Larry Taylor used to put on shows in Houston, and he had Bruce Timm as a guest. And I didn't even have a TV. I didn't know anything about his animation or anything. And I picked him up at the airport, and we stopped at my apartment on the way home, and he's looking at stuff. He said, oh, how much for this? And do you want that? I was just like, I was like, well, it's just stuff I like. I don't really want to sell it, So I took him to the show, and I was working at Larry's booth selling comics, and he's over there. Oh, I'm going to take this and this and this. And I had no idea who this guy was, And I was getting a little pissed off because he was taking all my good stock because I made money based on what I sold, And so, I was really stupid. If I'd known who he was or been a little less, I was really poor in those days, and I was trying to make as much money as I could. But if I'd played it a lot differently, I could have got, some art from him probably. But he was a nice guy. He wasn't. I'm not going to say he was obnoxious or anything, but he was just like, he just struck me the wrong way, and I was like, who is this guy? What's going on?
Yeah.
So that was one of my great fails in my comic book past.
I think to exist in the kind of world that he did, especially if you're going to be dealing with TV and film and producers and that sort of thing, I think you do have to have a bit of a different personality that can sometimes rub people the wrong way if they don't know. Like you said, if you don't know who the fuck is this guy? What is he doing here? Yeah, that's amazing. AFPC, we were just talking about the one I've talked about a million times before there, the Marvel that came out with all the variety of artists, because Ryan Heshka appears in that as well. So throwing in the plugs for some good books where you can see his stuff.
Cool.
So I'll jump into something here. Let's see. Make way here. So I got a couple of library books that I'll start out with. I haven't finished reading both of them. But I guess I had them on hold for the longest time and forgotten about them. Two Michael DeForge books, Ant Colony and Birds of Maine, which I think this one is 2022. It's a newer anyway. I don't remember when Ant Colony came out. Ant Colony 2014 is when this came out. I haven't read DeForge for quite a while. And this was a fantastic way to get kind of reintroduced to his books. I really like this book a lot. He does this thing that kind of, to much different effect. I don't want to say that they're anything similar, other than they bring this life to these animals or these creatures, or in this case, insects. Big Questions is another one that I would kind of sort of put in that wheelhouse about humanizing these creatures. In case of Big Questions, birds. And in case of this one, we got ants in here, we got bumblebees, we got spiders, and it's fantastic. I know a little bit about Michael DeForge. I follow him on Twitter as well. So you do get a little bit of an insight into some people's maybe personal politics. And I feel like some of his personal politics come out in this one, especially when the ant colony kind of gets, or the ants get wiped out and their colony is basically destroyed. And there's a couple of rogue ants that don't go to participate in this battle with these red ants that starts to happen. And they start to go around, and so since there's no one around and no one's in charge and the queen is dead, I guess I can just do this, this, and this, and there's not going to be any repercussions for it. So it's this sort of idea that now that the queen is dead, what are we going to do? And well, why don't we just fuck shit up a little bit? What happens if I kill all these babies that were here, you know? But the other beautiful thing about DeForge is, especially in Birds of Maine, but there's moments of it here too, just his design on the page, I think, is gorgeous. And in some of the panels, you really start to get into a world of the abstract. He has, I can't even really put my finger on it. There's just a way that he draws backgrounds. There's a way he sometimes draws the creatures themselves, and just their environment, that's really highly stylized and almost becomes, it definitely becomes abstract. I'll show you something in. Yeah, I agree about Luz. I've got a couple of AFPC is just saying he hasn't read much DeForge outside some issues of Luz, which were fun but forgettable. And I would agree with that. I've got a couple of issues of Luz. I couldn't tell you the first thing about them. Going back, I'd have to look through them again. I remember enjoying them, but I couldn't really put anything to the front of my mind about it. Now, that's much different with Ant Colony. I think Ant Colony is something that really sticks with you. I think it's really worth checking out. So in Birds of Maine, it's really highlighted this kind of abstract cartooning here with these environments. So trees and skies as these birds are flying through these environments. But I mean, if you just see this page on its own without the context, I think it really stands out as someone that's just working in a completely different way. It fits in the context of the rest of the book because you kind of have the before and after. So you get a snapshot of what that is that you're looking at. But he does this gorgeous, gorgeous work. This is a particularly funny one, actually. These birds are gazing at another one. Oh, so hot. That wingspan. Ridiculous wingspan. Ridiculous. I want him to peck out my eyes. He's so handsome, is what the birds say to each other. So just kind of goofiness in this one so far. There's a bit of goofiness going on. I'm sure it's going to get much more dense as it goes on. I'm barely scratched the surface on this. But I really like his stuff that I'm reading so far. It makes me want to dig into more of his graphic novel work, see what else he's got out there, because I know he has quite a bit. DeForge did a small comic called Stunt that was incredible. Cool, Rick Ray. I'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah, from what little I know, AFPC, so am I. I would agree with that. But again, I don't know a ton about his politics, just little bits and pieces. Do you know DeForge's stuff?
No, I haven't seen it before. It looks very interesting. I'll try to check it out. Go to the library.
Yeah, exactly. Go to the library and get the stuff there for sure. Favorite piece of DeForge media I've consumed was an old interview on Ink Studs, which was exclusively about Magic the Gathering, which I know absolutely nothing about. Oh man, Ink Studs. I haven't listened to Ink Studs in a long time.
Really?
I'm sure that stuff is archived. Yeah, do you know Ink Studs, the podcast?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to go back and revisit it. I'd recommend stretching out the read of Birds of Maine. It read best when he was serializing a page a day on Instagram. Yeah, and I imagine so, and I'm trying to keep that in mind as I'm reading it, that there's these stretches of time between each of them. I will do that, Rick Ray. Anything else you want to share with us there, Donald? What else you got?
Let's see. Picked up a few undergrounds.
Hey,
Junk Waffle
oh, beautiful.
numbers 5, I think, which came out, posthumously, but don't want to show that too close. Might get in trouble. But
Yeah,
got some ink, some Junk Waffle strips from. I think these were still unpublished when he died, and then some of the older ones, First Lizard in Orbit. But it's
nice.
kind of wordy. His stuff is really fun. So I got that. I got an issue of Weirdo, which
Beautiful.
they're always fun. That was an interesting series.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the first 3 issues of Comics book.
Hey, nice.
Which is number 2. And number 3.
Right.
Dennis Kitchen's Crew. Nothing really that interesting to get worth taking out and showing them to you. They're just just a curiosity at the time. I bought those when they came out, and they were cheap, so I picked them up.
They're great, man. Like, I've got 2 of the issues as well. Like, the idea that, he was able to kind of get these underground artists into Marvel and, kind of work that relationship with Stan a bit. He talks about it in his interview with Kayfabe, and it's a fantastic little story. Just what he put forward when he went, I think, is good for him, man. It's a fun book for sure. That's fantastic. So these were from one of your shops you were telling me online before, like he had a bunch of undergrounds in the back and he didn't know what to do with. Was that the story?
Well, he keeps saying he's got these undergrounds, but like I kind of peeked in his back room, and he doesn't have a lot of room, and he's got boxes just stacked up in rows. There's no way to get into them. So he keeps telling me he says he's got a whole long box full of undergrounds. Excuse me. And I'm just waiting to get my hands on them.
Yeah.
But he likes to he's kind of a pricey sop, and he likes to get everything. He likes to squeeze that last penny. So if he's got something I really want, I'll get it. There's probably gonna be stuff I can't afford, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's always worth in those cases. I mean, if you can afford it, making an offer on the whole lot when you see them. Hey, here's the thing. You'll get money right now, and all of these will be gone, and you'll never have to worry about them.
Yeah, that might be a good tack to take with him, because he's got like a family store, and it's hard for him to put the undergrounds out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have that kind of money, but that would probably be a good way to go. Another book, Maple Terrace by Noah Van Schrijver. Have you seen this book?
I haven't. I know about it, but I've never seen it. No.
It's kind of autobiographical about when he was a kid. Talking about his toys and stuff he had and stuff he couldn't get his hands on. I guess we can all relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
But so he goes into his brother's room, and he's got and looks at his comic books, and he's afraid that he's got like there's like 3 brothers, and the older brother says, you can't look at my stuff, and he's got all the cool stuff. So it turns out that it's the middle brother that he can't stand. He says, "Oh, you can read my comics anytime you want." So he gets I forget what comic it was. He damages it. Oh, it's Spawn number 5, and he really wanted to get his hands on it, and he was looking at it, and he bent it or something. And he said, "Oh, your brother's coming back." So he takes it out and he buries it. He feels so guilty. He takes it and buries it.
Wow.
But it's called Maple Street. I guess it's an ongoing series, and it was very entertaining. I recommend it.
Yeah, AFPC is recommending it here as well too. Such a sweet personal read. I don't know all of Van Sciver's stuff, but I don't know how often he talks about his family. I mean, having an infamous brother as he has, I feel like times that I've seen people broach the topic with him, he doesn't really ever want to talk about it, which I absolutely understand. So that would be cool to read a bit of insight into growing up.
Oh, he's his brother. I never understood what the relationship was there.
Sorry, say that again.
I didn't understand the Van Scivers. I didn't realize they were brothers. I thought maybe it was just a coincidence of the names or whatever.
Oh, right. Yeah. Unfortunately not. I mean, well, what do I know? Maybe they get along very, very well. Who knows? AFPC is saying he likes reading Van Sciver in spurts, or at least his shorter anthology-based work. Yeah, he's a guy I haven't read a lot of, and he does poke around. I mean, he's in this Blab as well, isn't he? I think he appears in here a couple of times. Yeah, he does, with some work in this one about the death of comics is what it's called, and I think it's a strip about the crime comics. Crime does not pay specifically, so I have, like I said, haven't read it though, but he's got a couple of things in there, I think.
Well, I'm gonna have to pick that up.
Ethan makes an appearance in that first issue, but as more of a spectator, a specter rather than a character with any agency. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. So it's an ongoing one, hey?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. What do I got next here? One of the fun reads this week didn't blow me away, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I finished Citizen Nocturne by M. Dalton Allred. So early Mike Allred stuff, and it appeared originally. I have one of the issues, this Graphique Musique. I think this is issue number 2. I believe there was 3 issues of this where he first published this story. This is kind of his second piece of work here, from what I'm understanding. It's this Brave New Words company, which I'm really growing to be a fan of. And one of the other things that he did before this was something called Dead Air from Slave Labor Graphics, which is wild. I've got a weekly radio show, and I've had a radio show for I don't know how long, when I first started it back in early 2000s, and it's been called Dead Air ever since then. So I had no idea we shared that similarity there. So this is kind of it's a vampire story. It's pretty damn good. You absolutely see some Allred isms in it with some of the art, but I think where you really see him shine a bit is in the storytelling and the characters, the characterization, and their like kind of interactions. I feel like there's a lot of Allred in some of that stuff. I'm not a huge fan of vampire stories. I could kind of take them or leave them, mostly leave them. But this one was still interesting enough, even though set in that kind of horror world there. It's great seeing his art, though. I really like seeing his stripped down stuff. And in this one, Laura does the lettering in this book. So still working with his wife right from those early days, which is also amazing to see. So a really nice little find there, the Citizen Nocturne. Worth keeping your eyes out for that, or this Graphique Musique.
I've been looking for those for years. I never run across them.
Yeah, it was a fluke that I did. It was just this one from some bin somewhere. I don't actually remember where I found it, but this was during that sale that he had going at 204 Comics, one of the local shops, the yard sale thing that he had going, where he was just getting rid of hardcovers and soft covers. So really nice score there.
Sweet.
Yeah, I need some more Allred, I think is what it tells me. I want some more early Allred. I know there's a ton of it. I'd really like to read not just the Madman. I've read a bunch of Madman already, but I'd like to see some of this other stuff. I'd love to find this Dead Air. I'd love to find some of this early work that's while he's still figuring it out to some degree. What else you got there, Donald?
Well, I don't want to spend any time on it, but I just wanted to mention Fun Girl.
Hey,
finally got my Viking Volva. And,
excellent.
I mean, this is you talked this one to death, but it's a great book, and anybody who hasn't read it, run out and try to find it because it's cool.
Yep. Yeah, the art is beautiful, man. She's really good style.
Something else that I was talking with the guy on Mastodon about Gene Day, which I often do. I'm a big fan of Gene Day. And I went to the Grand Comics database and made a checklist of the stuff that he had done in his lifetime. And I found these Thors that he did with Keith Pollard. I was never a big fan of Keith Pollard. I mean, he's good enough, but I was never that into it. But Gene Day, Pollard did the layouts, and then Gene Day did the finished art and the inks, and some really great stuff. He did issue 300, and then like 310 through 315.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed to pick up about 4 of the issues at the local comic shops, and it's pretty enjoyable. There's Mephisto. I don't know if it's coming across, but
yep.
But I mean, Gene Day was such a great artist. It was such a loss that he died so young.
That's beautiful. That's amazing stuff. Anything else you want to show us there?
What else?
Sleepy is a big fan of Gene Day as well too. He's saying love Gene Day, but upset Marvel kept him on inks for so long.
I did pick up a couple of 70s Marvel horror books cheap. Journey History, great Gil Kane cover. And,
really nice.
An original Robert E. Howard adaptation by Gil Kane and Tom Palmer and Roy Thomas. Dig Me No Grave, which I don't know. I just get a kick out of Gil Kane. He was really great.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool looking.
I wish I could remember the stories like Rasta does. She can go through and say, "Oh, this happened." And I read them and I just forget them immediately. But I remember.
Yeah.
This also has a great story called "The House" by Ralph Reese.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Ralph Reese. He was
vaguely. Yeah, vaguely.
He was an apprentice of Wally Wood. He was around in the 70s. I met him at a show in Indianapolis. He was a very flamboyant character. Very hung out for a little while. He was really cool.
Sorry, crunching on crackers here. Yeah, no, that's great. I've his name pops up quite a bit. And there was a local guy here called Ralphie Reese as well, too. Not any sort of relation, nothing. So they both names would often pop up in my feeds on like Instagram and things. So, yeah. Rick Ray is saying he's about 12 issues shy of completing my Master of Kung Fu run and all our Gene Day issues. RIP could have been one of the all-timers at Marvel.
Yeah. I still need that one. There's that one Gene Day issue that's like the first appearance of some character, and it's super expensive. I can never get 122 or something like that, and I can never find it, let alone afford it. But that's the only issue I need.
AFPC is saying Creatures of the Id from Caliber. That's the earliest all-red. And I've grown soft on all-red stuff within the last decade or so, but I enjoyed his early work quite a bit. X-Force X Statics with Milligan is a favorite, and at risk of breaking the internet and completely crumbling society as we know it, I actually found a couple of X-Force books recently, number 121 and 122. So believe it or not, and Ross's mind will be blown, I now own a book with an X on it, a big X on it. 2 of them, as a matter of fact. So I'm actually pretty excited to get into these because I've heard so many good things for so long about this that I figured it's time to put some of that shit aside and give it a try. As far as Ralph Reese doing some undergrounds or ground level, I think you're right, Damien. I believe so, but off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what.
There was that 2-issue Reese's Pieces miniseries.
Yeah, from
pretty
Eclipse
cool.
or something, right?
Eclipse,
That was
yeah.
the Eclipse one. Mm-hmm. Cool. Jump into the kind of the highlight of my reading this week. The absolute highlight in such an enjoyable way. I enjoyed this book so much. This was probably one of the better things I've read in a little while, as far as it just completely, the story I think worked for me really nicely. The art was beautiful by John Bolton. I found the final 3 issues of this Gifts of the Night from Paul Chadwick and John Bolton from Vertigo, 1999. Yes, all of them are 1999. Beautiful 4-issue little kind of fairy tale story here. And this style of storytelling is something that never really used to do as much for me, but I found like in the recent years, and I completely put the blame onto books like the Norse mythology books and the storyteller books. Man, was this a fantastic little series. It's one that I won't say too much about, because there's quite a bit of twists and turns that I think are good to reveal through your reading, but I just wanted to show some of the John Bolton art. I've got some other John Bolton stuff, again, talking about Eclipse. I know that they did some John Bolton stuff from Eclipse, and I don't ever remember those standing out to me in any sort of significant way. And I think that's probably because of that kind of, as much as I love Eclipse, they do some coloring in some of those books that don't do the art justice. Whereas this, hopefully that's coming across nicely, I think is beautiful work. So yeah, Bolton, the name I'm definitely familiar with. And then of course, Paul Chadwick from Concrete fame and other things. Amazing story with a kind of shocking ending that I didn't expect. It's one of those things that even though you may see something coming, you don't expect. When I turn to the cover and see Vertigo DC, even with the Vertigo, I guess should have been a kind of a tip off, but you still don't expect certain things to happen in some of these books. And the direction that this one went, I thought was really fantastic. I'm glad it left on the note that it did. Yeah, really unique story. I loved it quite a bit, and page after page of gorgeous John Bolton art to look at, which is not a bad thing at all. Should give proper credits here for everybody. So just says Paul Chadwick writer, John Bolton artist, and then Todd Klein letterer. And Gift of the Night created by Paul Chadwick and John Bolton. So I guess he did everything, the art and the coloring and everything. So highly recommended. Keep your eyes open in those cheap bins, because it's very recommended. I had to pony up a little bit for issues 2, 3, and 4, more than I would normally pay for some of this stuff, but I was so taken with that first issue. I splurged more than I would necessarily normally. Do you know that book, Donald? Do you know this one?
I've seen it in dollar bins for years. I've never read it, no, but it's Vertigo, so it's probably got some good points to it.
Yeah, 99 is still kind of in that sweet zone for me anyway. It's kind of on the tail end of stuff that I know a lot about, but it feels like that's that sweet spot for Vertigo.
Yeah, good stuff.
Bolton's work on classic X-Men is great too, as well as Black Dragon. Yeah, Black Dragon I see around in dollar bins. I never pick it up though. Maybe I should rectify that. What do you got for us next there, Donald?
Well, kind of sheepish to even talk about it, but I bought this EC set. Direction Comics.
Yeah.
I bought it almost solely to get this Master Race story in black and white. I mean, it's
Yep.
become trite. There's been so much written and talked about it lately, but I don't know. It's just always, it's for 30 years, it's been one of my favorite comics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but these books are pretty good. I feel like James was trying to employ some of his best artists with these new direction books. I don't think they were selling very well. Jack Davis's stuff was really good, but a lot of the Graham Engel stuff, it was just when he wasn't doing horror, it was really dull.
Right.
But Impact was an interesting title. It had several Krigstein stories, and the Valor book. Let me pull it out here. Was really fun. It's nice Joe Orlando work there. He's really not celebrated enough for his work in DC. Most people are into Williamson and Wood and Krigstein. But there's some really good. This is Joe Orlando. And really nice in the black and white. I really do enjoy this book. And, I just I don't know why I just decided to buy it. They had it at half price books, and it wasn't cheap, but I thought about it for a long time. I finally said, "What the heck? I'm going to buy it." And then the next week after I bought it, they had a 20% off sale.
Oh, oh boy! So the half off plus another 20%.
Yeah,
yeah, that's the way it goes always. Hey.
Yeah, but what the heck?
Yeah, but I think even for like 50% off, I mean, you don't see those books around at all. So I think, it was a good choice to bite the bullet and get that sucker, especially if you really want that story.
Yeah.
Do you have any more of the sets, or is that the first one?
Well, I used to have several of them, but I sold them over the years. And I kind of wish I still had some. Well, don't we all wish we had some of the stuff that we sold back in the day? But I don't look back too much.
Mm-hmm. I had only one. It was the slipcase of like the Pictofiction stuff. I ended up selling it quite a few years ago to a guy, I think in Australia, who paid a boatload for the book and for the shipping. And I mean, he was ecstatic to have it, which is great. But that was the only one I ever owned. And as much as I liked it, it wasn't something that kind of drew me into any huge degree. But some of the other stuff, when you saw the reprints come out, some of those were a lot of fun. It would be cool to see, like you said, that black and white in that nice format would be really nice to see for sure. Yeah, cool. Yeah, go ahead.
I got Power Girl because I'm an Amanda Conner fan. I got the Amanda Conner cover.
Yes.
The insides didn't thrill me too much. I forget who did it, but there were some really good covers on this. You see who did it. Can never find the credits anymore. It's
sometimes back.
And but I haven't read it yet. I just looked at the pictures. That's the way I am with most comics.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own way of collecting and appreciating comics.
Totally.
I'm visual. I like to look at them. I buy a lot of comics just for the covers.
Yeah, no, and some of that is, perfectly fine way to deal with it, especially because some of it, let's be honest, some of the stories are a little little dull, to say the least. So that's kind of the first thing that we're all there for, is for the artwork. It's just a nice bonus when you get a good story on the side as well, too.
Yeah.
In the world of new books, I guess, since you're talking that one, I finally broke down and I picked up an issue of Clobber in Time This is issue number 3. It's with Doctor Strange. So, I mean, that was the kind of tipping point for me. I've seen the previous issues before on the stand, and I've always flipped through them and never bit the bullet. But this was the one, since they put the good doctor in there, I couldn't resist. And I think I might go back and pick up the first 2 issues. I have zero idea about what's going on. I have zero idea about who some of these other characters are, nor do I really care, for that matter. It was still an enjoyable read, even though I felt like I didn't know what was happening to bring us to this point. It was beautiful to see this Steve Scroce. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, or Scroce. So let's get the credits here. Story and art, Steve Scroce. I'm going to go with that. Color artist, Brian Valenza. And then letters by VC's Joe Sabino. Has a real, especially in some of the faces like that, Manhattan Projects. And his name now is going to escape me. Someone in the chat will probably know, AFPC will probably know, but there's a real similarity to his art style there. It's kind of in that world of the Burnhams and the people like that, right? It feels like it has some of that energy in there. But yeah, it was fun. I don't know if this is one to necessarily run out and get, unless you're a big fan of the Thing, or like me, if you're a fan of Doctor Strange, it's worth it. But the art was pretty spot on. Let's see if I can find another good page to show you here. And there was this different kind of Watcher character, who I'm not familiar with. I know it's a Watcher, but he looks quite a bit different than what I'm used to. So I don't know if this is some alternate world version of the Watcher. It is Tuva 2, the Banished One, the Unwatcher is what he calls himself in this book here. So I don't know anything about that. I don't know if that's something that's made an appearance in some older books. It feels like maybe it's a newer thing, but who knows. So yeah, I'm glad I finally bit the bullet on it and gave it a shot. Nick Patera is the name I was thinking of from Manhattan Projects. Some of those faces of, especially that elderly couple of his partner's parents, had a real Nick Patera vibe to them for sure. Yeah, that's that one. Clobbering Time.
Yeah, I've looked at it on the stands, but I haven't gone for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it catches my eye for sure. It stands out amongst the rest of the sea of Marvel and DC stuff for sure. It kind of pops off that stand.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice though, picking up a book where that cover art is reflected on the interior art, because I mean, there's some, like you, I often look at the Marvel and DC, and sometimes I'm tempted to buy some books just based on the covers, because when you open it up, the art is so kind of, for me personally, disappointing compared to some of the cover artists that they get working on these books. It's unfortunate they can't they still, I mean, I understand the angle. It's not like it's a new thing. It's always happened, but it is still a bit disappointing when you see a really cool cover and flip it open and it's worlds apart from what's on the inside. Even with some of the indie ones, I've seen that with too. Some of the kind of more mainstream indie, I guess, similar kind of tactics, with different cover artists as opposed to the guy doing the interior.
Yeah. This book,
what do you got next there?
This book I've been reading since the beginning, Noctera. Mm-hmm. And this is one book that the artist from the book does the covers. I don't know. They have other covers, of course, but I was by Tony S. Daniels. It's Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniel and Marcello Maiola is the colorist. I'm an issue or two behind in reading this book, but I don't know. Have you ever seen an issue of Noctera?
I've seen it, but I've never flipped through it. But I'm familiar with the title. Yeah,
it's like all of a sudden the light was gone, and if you get into the dark, there's all these creatures, and so without going into too much detail, it's gotten really crazy. and there's all these super powerful characters, and I can't remember. I can never remember any of the characters' names, but they would travel around, move things around. They have this truck that has lights on it, and they ferry things around. And it's a fun story. I wish I could remember more details. But I recommend Noctera.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
Pick up the collections. They're definitely worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's again, one of those things of, if I had more money, there's a number of books I'd love to pick up to give a shot, and that's one that's popped up. Same with that Radiant Black and Radiant Pink and Radiant everything. You're probably getting an echo from my microphone here, Donald. I don't have the necessarily the best setup in the world here.
Yeah, same with me. I'm getting an echo on my voice from you.
Yeah. I'll try to mute in between so you don't get that echo.
Maybe I could do that too.
Just wanted some of the stuff I'd love to check out for sure.
Just wanted to shout out to Rasa. I picked up the Turtles and Usagi Jimbo #2. They got burned up in the truck. I thought maybe it might be rare, so I picked up a copy.
Yeah, that's a good call.
But I doubt it. That was just Diamond, I think, that happened to. And there's so many other distributors now that they shouldn't have trouble. They shouldn't have trouble replacing those books.
Have you read it yet?
No, I haven't read the second issue. I read the first issue. It was okay. I'm not a big. I've never really read any Turtles before, believe it or not. I got in on the first issue. I managed to get my hands on a couple of the first issues, and I sold them when they got to $20 or whatever. And I've bought issues and sold them, but never really read them.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, it's. I think it's well worth it. I'm really enjoying my read into it. APC is saying my favorite comic about truckers is still US1, and then Rick Ray is saying it's one of the weirdest comics I've ever read. Oh, cool. Well, that sounds like something I need to look for. I'm assuming it's a new comic is what they're talking about, so I'll have to keep an eyes out for it. Oh, I think I lost you, Donald.
No, I had it muted. It's a New Universe.
New Universe, is that what you said?
Yeah. Wasn't US1? Wasn't that a New Universe book?
Oh, okay.
Jim Shooter's thing in the 80s.
Oh, okay. I'll have to keep an eye out for it then.
Definitely dollar book material.
Yeah. That's the best place to get them. So I've got. I dug. Going back into Vertigo, I found Junk Culture, one of the few Ted McKeever books that I just didn't have, and the shop that I went to fill the gaps for that Gifts of the Night. He had a bunch of Vertigo books that I ended up flipping through. And this is one that popped out of there, and it was only a 2-issue run, so I figured I'd give it a shot. And this is kind of right after, I think it's pretty much right after him doing Metropole. So it was kind of Eddie Current, and then Plastic Forks, or maybe reversed, and then did some Metropole. And then I think Junk Culture was right in around there. He might have done something else for, I don't know when The Extremist was. I feel like there was something else from McKeever in 94 or 96 from Vertigo. So, but maybe I'm misremembering. And it really has that, this one has that Metropole kind of line, like these bolder black outlines of his stuff. This one kind of carries over some of that feel. This felt a lot like I was reading Metropole, actually, not with the story, but just his style in this one is still really steeped in that era. And I feel like his style really changed. As much as it remained McKeever over the years, it really morphed into something different the further he went in his career. The story in this one was just so-so. I don't know if it really left any impression on me. It's these twin sisters, and you find out more about them as the story goes on. I don't know if it was particularly that interesting of a read, but it's always good to dip into some McKeever stuff that I haven't read. I'll just show you a couple of pages or so. And the bonus, again, being that it's only a 2-issue miniseries, so nothing that you got to stick into for a long time after that. Ted McKeever was on the 90s Doom Patrol. He was. Hey, he did a couple issues in there. How many issues was that, Rick Ray? I don't think I was aware of that. Hello, Andrew Lopez. Yeah, so that's Junk Culture from Ted McKeever. Like I said, another one worth picking up if you can find it for cheap. I may have paid a little bit more than I was normally comfortable with, but I don't find this guy. He's got a lot of Vertigo titles and epic titles and things like that in these boxes. Under you got to crouch down and on your knees pulling out boxes from underneath. Okay, 13 issues. Geez, I guess I didn't know that. I didn't realize that he'd done so many. I'll have to look into that a little closer.
Can you do the covers on him? McKeever?
Yeah. On the Doom Patrol, yeah, I guess we'll see if what Rick Ray says there.
Make them easier to find.
Yeah, for sure it would, yeah. I'm sure CLZ, it'll usually lays it out pretty good in CLZ there where you can look at the creators, who was writer and artist and things.
Yeah.
What else you got there?
I wanted to respond to a comment from AFPC. The name of my fanzine in Kappa Alpha was just Sketchbook, not very interesting. But I did a lot of fanzines that I can't even remember that had a circulation of maybe 6, maybe 10, that I would mail out to friends. And so, nothing that you would probably ever see.
Do you still have copies? Have you ever thought of maybe compiling a best of and doing like a modern fanzine?
I have a few. Then every once in a while, I'll post it. Like I used to post it on Twitter once in a while. I'd post one of my old fanzines. But they're really nothing to talk about, really. Just enthusiasm and no talent.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about this thing that I did. But yeah. Hopefully that'll come. Let's see. I don't think he did covers for the series. There were some by Kyle Baker and Brian Bolland, but I don't recall any McKeever covers.
No, I don't remember ever seeing it.
He was asking mimeograph.
Yeah, I did some mimeograph. I would print them at school, and those were the days. The smell. But most of them were done just on Xerox machines. Like at my mom's work, she would print them for me. I got reprimanded once for having some nudies in one issue. They said, "Well, we're gonna print this stuff, but we don't want to see any more like this."
That's pretty amazing, man. Like it must have been something to be in that world. I can just imagine the excitement getting the mail every month, or was it a monthly thing?
Yeah, it was monthly. Yeah. Those are good times.
Love coming across old faded mimeograph fanzines. Yeah,
and some pretty famous people were in K. I think Mark Evanier was in it for years, and Gary Brown, and gosh, I don't remember who else. A lot of pros were in it back in the day, or future pros like. Mark Grunwald, I think, was in there, and maybe Sterno. I don't know. Roger Stern.
Cool. Yeah. McKeever stretch on Doom Patrol was between issues 75 to 87, if you want to find them. Sweet. Thank you very much, Rick Ray.
Interesting.
I think they've done probably graphic novels of all of that stuff, too, so that's probably one of the volumes. Maybe be lucky enough that it's all in one chunk.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to show off here there, Donald?
Oh, I don't really have anything that's really that great. One thing I've been posting a lot on Mastodon this old book from K. Nielsen. It's what is it? Valentine Peacock book from Bantam Books, and these are illustrations from like 1914, and really beautiful. I had this book back in the 70s, and I used to swipe from it all the time for drawings, but his work was just really amazing. And back then, they would publish them in books, and they'd pay him practically nothing. But where he'd make his money is they would have shows, and he would sell the originals, which was kind of I guess comics are like that now.
Yeah. Yeah, those look beautiful. 1914, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool. Not a name I know at all.
K. Nielsen, definitely. It's a good. If you ever see that book, it's definitely worth picking up.
Yeah. Sweet. The Rachel Pollack Doom Patrol Omnibus collects it all, I imagine. Okay, perfect. For the McKeever Doom Patrol stuff. Maybe the last one I'll talk about here. Don't know how much I have to say about it. Maybe let's do... I guess let's keep up with the Vertigo. The final thing that I found when I was digging for the gifts of the night, I've had one issue of The Horrorist by Jamie Delano and David Lloyd. I've had one single issue for the longest time, and I never find the second issue. I think I found the first one in a dollar bin years ago, and I've always kept my eyes out for it, and just it's not one that I ever find. So really glad to have this final issue. This was a pretty fantastic story. And again, I feel like with some of this stuff, you end up getting put into the mindset of the time, but also with some of this, you really get put into that world so nicely. And I think they do a fantastic job of putting you right into that world of Hellblazer and Constantine with a pretty dark story. It's a pretty goddamn dark story. And if I'm understanding the way that it ends, it's a pretty interesting way of ending it. And it gives me kind of a different view of Constantine as a character. I'm stopping on this page because I love this here, the way these figures rolling around in the snow here are interacting with that page. I think that's beautifully done. There's a real kind of children's book quality about that, even though the rest of this book is really dark. So he's basically he's hunting for this woman who's called the Horrorist, and she kind of relives horrors that humans have done to each other throughout history, and sometimes very specific to an individual. That's really intriguing. It's a really intriguing idea, kind of driving these people mad with this just relentless reminder of these horrors that they've either witnessed or participated in the past. Really interesting idea, and especially Constantine's role in that whole thing of trying to kind of absorb all of that and to kind of, put her at rest to some degree, but also just take on those horrors himself, which really gets into his boozing and smoking and his kind of outlook on the world. So really great story. The David Lloyd artwork in here is pretty fantastic. He does some really amazing things throughout. The coloring is really nice as well. This is a pretty darker piece there too, with Constantine as he picks up someone at the bar. And you get kind of a look into his more sadistic side. So another one that's well worth picking up before I show that page. Yeah, this is book one. Just want to make sure that I'm not doing any huge spoilers. So this is the ending of book one here. Some beautiful color thrown in there. So use of color in this one is really nice too. It's weird because that cover has always looked at as like, is this a story about aliens or something? But it's not the case whatsoever. It's just that image kind of looks like a stereotypical alien. So really nice stuff there. Makes me want to read more Hellblazer, pick up those volumes. I was reading some of the collected editions before, but it's been a long time and I've never read the entirety of it. I really need to go back and pick up some more of those. Maybe another library visit. Hello, G. Hello, Mind the Comics. How are you? So yeah, it's good shit. And again, just a 2-issue mini series there. So hopefully it's out there if you're curious about it.
Yeah, I've seen it in dollar boxes. I've never read it.
Do you know much of the Hellblazer stuff? Did you ever read the series?
No, not really. I used to collect it for the covers, and
Yep.
I always thought I'd read it, especially the Garth Ennis issues, but I never got around to reading them.
Right.
There's so many comics and so little time.
So many, and so many kind of classic ones. Transmetropolitan is another one high on my list there of one that I really need to read that I just have never read. It feels like there's these kind of staples that I should get to at some point just to give them a fair shot. The entirety of Sandman, I've read chunks here and there, but I've never read kind of the whole thing. That's another one for sure that I'd like to kind of sit with and immerse myself in. I feel like that one is something that I'm really ready for, considering some of this other stuff I've been reading, the Dead Boy Detective stuff, this Thessaly, I think, was some of the miniseries that I was reading too. The stuff that's kind of associated with the Sandman universe that I think I'm ready. I'm ripe for just diving in.
Yeah. I don't know. In the 80s and the 90s, I was buying comics 40, 50 boxes at a time, and I was just going through comics, and that's how I became a cover addict, I guess. Just all I'd ever have time to do is look at the covers, and Hellblazer had some great covers. Like Thessaly, that's the reason I picked it up, because of the Tara McPherson covers, and I finally read those. That was a pretty good story.
Yeah, I enjoyed those. I enjoyed those quite a bit, I remember. Cool. Anything else you wanted to share with us today there, Donald?
Well, one last thing.
Sure.
They keep putting out these comic books with Frazetta covers for $5, and I keep buying them. The interior is not bad, and the stories are not horrible, but it's just the covers that I'm buying. Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer.
Yeah, I think Jared Osborne is on that same boat doing the same thing, I think, buying those.
Yeah, I just enjoy Frazetta's art so much, and any comic book with a Frazetta cover is worth having.
Yeah, it's another one of those I always pick up off the shelf when I see it, just to kind of flip through it, but I've never pulled the trigger on it. So yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for me. The only other thing that I really read besides some random stuff is that we finished Autumn Lands. Me and my daughter finished Autumn Lands. Maybe not the best comic to read with a 9-year-old, but it was good. She enjoyed it. It's not like she hasn't heard me drop the F-bomb a number of times. But it was good. It ended well. I wish there was a little more closure to the story after issue 14. So it only went the 14 issues, and this cover here, very commandy looking here. One of the things that apparently influenced him to do this book. I wish there was a couple of more questions answered by the end of 14, because I think this came out in 2017, and on the inside back cover it says, "We are coming back. There is going to be more. We're just going to take a bit of time because we want to make sure that we have enough done so it can come out on schedule." Because I guess this was notoriously late when it was originally coming out. It's beautiful artwork. I thought the story was really engaging. There was a lot of really interesting moments. It's just one of those that I'm not sure that the ending was kind of as satisfying as I had maybe hoped for. But some gorgeous art and just a really interesting world. And it's nice to it was nice to, as they our two main characters leave the fallen city and go to find these lights and kind of pursue the rest of the story without going into the entirety of the story. once they start leaving and start to kind of interact with other groups of animals that are out there, it really started opening up quite a bit. And he sort of teases at the back that there's more of that coming with the future stories, where it's going to be really opening up the world, and we're going to meet a whole bunch of other creatures during the next arc that just never came. So yeah, pretty damn good. My daughter was really into it. She was actually really interested in it, following very closely. So it was worth it for that, even with the cursing and the bit of nudity that's in there, which I didn't think was too much. It didn't turn me off of it or stop me from reading it with her. So Rick is saying it's disappointing how little the interiors match the energy of the Frazetta covers. Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple with that, right? Wasn't there another one that they were doing with Frazetta covers?
Yeah, it's called Dawn Attacks, and then there was another science fiction one, Frank Frazetta's Fantasy or something like that. I have a hard time reading the comments because I'm such a geek and I didn't want to show myself, but my good glasses are put together with tape. I didn't want to sit here for an hour with my geek glasses on. So I apologize.
You need to add some more to the middle just because. You just got to put it, even though it doesn't need it, just put it there. Yeah, I don't think I've pretty much highlighted everything. I try to keep on top of the chat for sure as we go through these shows.
Yeah, it's hard for me to split my concentration.
Yeah. Any other comics related stuff you wanted to chat about there, Donald? Anything else coming up for you this week?
I'm looking forward to it's coming up in August. Dwellings by Jay Stevens.
Okay,
is going to be a regular series from Omni, and he's been self-publishing it for a while, and I've been buying them from the. He does little, not Kickstarter, but Black Eyed Books, I think it's called. And they're kind of expensive. It cost me like $25 each, but they're. Have you ever heard of that book, Dwellings?
I have actually. Yes, that one that's kind of like this Richie Rich-ish type of Harvey comics.
Yeah.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's coming out from Omni Press. It's $10, but it's better price than what I've been paying, and it's really enjoyable, really fun. So I highly recommend that. If you get your order into your local comic shop.
And sorry, is this just for another issue or is this a collection now?
No, it's new. I think it's new.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure that if he's getting more exposure these days, it would be nice to see a collected edition of everything.
It's nice to get.
He is saying Dwellings is fun as well.
I don't know if you can see this. And, they send out little with the expensive issues. They send out these signed prints.
That's cool.
They're kind of fun. So I've got a few of these from issues that I've bought, from his self-publishing deal. And if you look at Black Eyed Books, I think you can order some of those. I think they're in Canada. Now I think about it.
Oh, is that true? Hey,
I think.
Let me.
I could be wrong.
Type in the address right here. blackeyebooks.ca. It's looking promising.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, cool. Yeah, they are. They're Toronto, Ontario. Yeah. Well, that makes it a lot easier for me. That means that it'll be somewhat reasonable for shipping.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's a fun comic.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it seems like it's popped up quite a bit lately. I think Colin was talking about it. I'm pretty sure Damien had talked about it in the past. I've seen it on Twitter a couple of times too. So it feels like it's one of those that's maybe picking up more interest as it goes along. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they made their self-publishing goals on like 5 issues. So that says something.
Yeah, for sure it does. Yeah. And the stories, you're interested in the stories? Like, do they?
Yeah, I definitely read the stories. They're fun and creepy.
Oh yeah, really? Hey, yeah. I saw I got my order in already, but the new issue of Vacuum Decay, I guess, is sold out now. One of those ones I've raved about on here before. I saw him on Twitter. He was saying that another printing is coming soon. He's going to get back into a second printing of it. Another guy that's really good at kind of keeping things in print as far as producing this stuff and making sure that it's always accessible. So it's good to see he's selling out of stuff too, is the bonus of it. Keep that momentum going. So for anybody that maybe was interested in it and missed it, there's another one coming soon enough. Maybe keep an eye out on that Vacuum Decay website there. That's just a fantastic horror anthology that I can't wait to get this new issue and dig into it. So hopefully that comes this week or next week. We'll see. Really, sometimes depends. Sometimes the mail comes pretty quick from the States, and sometimes there's some little delay somewhere along the line, or it gets shipped the wrong direction. And yes, I saw that he's got something with Floating World later this year. Yeah. Harry Nordlinger is the guy that puts Vacuum Decay together and is one of the artists in it as well. And I guess as a projectionist at his regular job, because he's the guy that turned me on to the Skinamarink movie, which is incredible. But he talked about it quite a bit because he saw it a number of times, I guess, as he was running the projector at the theater. Got to sit and watch it a number of times in a row there. So cool. Well, Donald, thank you very much for coming. It was good to see you. Always good to hang out with you.
Yeah, it was good to see you. Thanks for inviting me.
Keep in touch. Let's do this again. And hopefully, like I said, I don't know if we're back next weekend or not. My brother comes in next Sunday from China. It'll be the first time we've seen him in quite a few years. So I don't know what my schedule is going to be on Sundays going forward. We'll see if I'm around. I might take a few weeks off to kind of get some time in with him and do some stuff. But I'll be around at some point. And like I said, this week, I'll make sure that I post it as early as possible. It'll be a sit-down chat with Colin, just really digging into canon and what his ideas were for that, and just kind of where he sees it going and maybe what some of the challenges were in putting it together. I think he's done an amazing job, but I'd like to hear some more about it. So we'll do that sometime this week, probably earlier in the week. Monday or Tuesday is what we're shooting for, depending on our schedules. So, but I'll make sure that I post it on Twitter as well too.
Cool.
Right on, everybody. Nice to see you all. Let's hope that Rasa is good and is well rested, and hopefully you'll see her next week, even if she does a solo show, which I know people have loved in the past. So Rasa, make sure that you do a show, even if I'm not around. Make sure you do one. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Bye.